On this episode of Lift Arc Builds, I built a very strange aluminum gate, and I MIG weld the whole thing. All right, so we got a special delivery here at the shop from the one and only Peter over at HTP, and it is the new MIG 2800. They're a big boy MIG welder. Everyone knows HTP for their small MIG welders. And their amazing TIG welder, the Invertig 251 is my go-to TIG welder. I love HTP stuff, but this, you know, we've got some big blue machines that one is on loan and one is very old, so it'd be nice to have some, you know, big time horsepower in the shop and some that we can keep. So time to see what it's all about. Let's unbox it and take a look. I have a project on the bench right now that I need a MIG welder for. I have one available, but I might as well do two birds with one stone. Unbox this, set it up, and then test it out on this little tubular frame that I'm welding up over there, and we'll see how it works in real time. All right, crack into this. Some good packaging. Got a little box on top. See what's in this small box first. Maybe some wire, nice invoice, and packing list. That's nice. Aluminum drive rolls. We've got a 10-foot aluminum gun. So this machine welds aluminum without a spool gun. So very excited to try that out. And we've got a 15-foot Tweco style welding torch for steel. So nice and long. That's a big deal for me. And a 15-foot grounding clamp, so they're the same length. So we've got consumables kit, which is really nice. We've got our big boy grounding clamp, big serious copper clamp on that. That's nice. Got our gas hose. We've got our aluminum, nice HTP labeled aluminum welding gun. And look at that, dingus end. South Weld, Tweco style MIG gun. Look at that, Hunter. She got a long neck.
That's what she wants.
So there's that. We got some different drive rolls. Those are for aluminum. They look to be colored, so you can't misplace them. And then we got some steel drive rolls. 035, 040, and 045. Cool. This is probably a regulator. Yep. Flow meter. Nice. And the gun. Very simple, exactly what you would think. There's that, by the way, the flow meter if you need to order it. Here's the part numbers for the drive rolls from usaweld.com. Drive roll, and this is your consumable kit. Cylindrical nozzle, conical nozzle, your contact tips, and the tip holder and a gas diffuser. So really nice that it comes with this. So I'll put all this back in the box and then we'll get into the big one. There she blows. 2800. Big boy weld. HTP. I think this box will be awesome. Shoo! Those new welder vibes, man. We're starting to like the HTP gray. Here's an initial look at the front here. Got the side. Double rollers, that's awesome. Dude, this thing has a window in the side so you can see if you're out of wire or not. That's a cool lever touch. That's very cool. So if you got stuff piled up on your welder and you gotta check your wire, you don't have to pull all that stuff off. What's in this one? Probably the wheels. Yep. Front casters, rear tires. That's nice. The axle, hardware kit. So this thing's bolted down to the pallet. I'm gonna unbolt it here and we'll maybe flip it over and put the running gear on. MIG 2800i. Let's go through here and find the assembly instructions. It's pretty cool, man. It's got eye bolts in case you need to lift it and move it, haul it up onto a job site or onto a truck or something. That's pretty cool. Nice thing for them to think about. Not gonna work. I don't know what this is yet, but I'll figure it out. There was nothing in the assembly instructions about it. That's okay. So we got our machine assembled. Peel opportunity. Yeah. So this does MIG, 2T, 4T, stick, and gouging, carbon arc gouging. That's cool. Made in Italy. All right, so those of you who've been following the channel know that this Millermatic 212 is my baby. I've had it for 20 some years. It was actually my dad's machine, the one he started Black Dog with. I used it in my personal garage when he upgraded. And then when I started Lift Arc, this was the main MIG welder. And honestly, I was using it yesterday. So she has been a workhorse for a long time. Barely had to do anything to it. But this is the machine that the new HTP MIG welder will hopefully replace. I really hope that I like that thing as much as I like this, as far as the arc feel, the stability, the sound, the ease, and the weld quality. So that is what I will be looking for today. I'm very eager to see if it holds up, because it's time to get some new technology in this shop, in the MIG welding department. So let's pull this thing out. I'll take that bottle and put it on that machine. Put it over here. Let's take the wire out of here, do a little swap around. So here we go. Gas bottles before you move them around, folks. Right, Hunter? We don't do anything dangerous in this shop. Guessing here, but ground on negative, gun on positive. We'll see if that's right. I'm gonna turn this on and see if there's a graphic that pops up to show me how to plug everything in. Pretty easy. Now as we change our thickness, wire feed changes. Cool. So you see your traditional numbers up here, amperage, voltage, or maybe this is inches per minute. No, this is inches per minute. Not sure what that is. I guess amperage. Yeah. Amperage, voltage, pretty synergic. Go ahead and install our wire. Got a roll of 030. This machine's awesome. It has a gas purge button in here and a feed button. Cool. Seems to feed okay. I'll use these knurled rollers to drive the 030 wire. Got the ground, got the gun. Man, 15 feet. That's so great. All right, ready to weld, it looks like. Just need some gas. Like these Tweco style guns, you can just hang it on stuff. All right, it's got a European style gas hookup, which is a female on the gas hose. Snug that up. Nothing too crazy because it's brass. Got our flow meter. Snug that up. Alrighty, so we're good to go there. We're officially ready to weld, folks. Man, I just used the gas purge button to purge the gas to set my flow rate. That is such a nice feature. You just push this button here, get gas to flow. I set it in at 25 CFH, a good starting point. Man, that is cool. You don't need the gun at all, and you don't waste wire. And conversely, when you're done and you want to bleed off pressure from your line, you can just hit that button instead of wasting wire. That is a really cool feature. All right, so I've got a bunch of 1/8" tubing I want to weld. Let's just set this at, just use the Synergic preset. Let's try that right there. 1/8". This sets automatically. I've got my gas set, got my wire set. Let's see what happens. All right, let's see. See how this works. Yeah, man, that feels great. This does exactly what you want it to do. Well, there we go. First impressions, very nice. Like it a lot. So Peter from HTP is gonna visit our shop pretty soon. And when he gets here, we'll do a full deep dive. We'll have a bunch of questions for him about the machine, how to set it up, what are its features, how to weld aluminum with it, and how to do pulse. So they're working on a pulse software update for this so it can do pulse. And pulse MIG is something I know very little about, so I'm very excited to try that out. But with almost no setup, this is what we got. Very little spatter. I'm sure there's some dialing in to do there. You know, with these machines, you want to dial in the inductance. The inductance is helpful for controlling spatter and feel, and sort of what you have on an inverter machine to make it feel like a transformer machine. I imagine this is a big inverter machine, whereas my Miller was an old style transformer machine. Looks good, feels good, welds good. I'm gonna go ahead and use this new welder to weld together this tubular frame for a customer project. So welcome to the shop, MIG 2800i from HTP. Go check it out, usaweld.com. This is a big boy welder, so I'm very excited to have a powerful addition that's ready to work. So there you go. Cool part about a 15-foot lead is I can leave that welder all the way over against the wall and just reach out here to this table with the leads, and I have to roll it all the way around. So how about that? All right, everybody, welcome back to a noisy shop. Today, I've got a project that I'm hopefully going to be using a new piece of equipment for. So my friend Jim Pickens over at Revolution Rowing brought us a bunch of pre-cut aluminum extrusions, and he wants us to fixture them and weld them into a gate and gate support. I don't fully understand what I'm building yet. We'll have him out to tell us how it's all going to work. But we have this new HTP MIG welder here, which is apparently going to be the bee's knees for MIG welding aluminum. It's got a new pulse program, so you can do pulse. It's supposed to work really, really well and make the welds look really, really good. So I figured this project, just welding a bunch of simple joints with aluminum tubing, is a perfect chance to try out pulse MIG on the HTP MIG 2800i. So I'm gonna get these fixtured up. We're gonna have Jim come out. He's gonna tell us a little bit about the project, tell me how it looks, and if it looks good. In the meantime, so I'm gonna fixture these up. I'm gonna run some tests with the HTP and make sure it cuts the way I want it, or welds the way I want it to weld. And then by that time, Jim should be in. He can look at this project, and if he gives us the green light, we can go ahead and weld it up. So yeah, I'm gonna fix it, do all those things I just said. So here we go. Okay, so I've been trying to experiment with some settings on this HTP MIG welder for pulsed MIG aluminum welding, and I had a lot of issues up front, but I think I just figured it out. So two things I remember from being taught a little bit about MIG aluminum by the ARC 3 guys is you need a little bit more stick out than you think. Your arc length needs to be longer, or you just pull your gun away from the weld a little bit more. And it was running a little hot, so what I did was set it to 1/8 inch settings, but then I trimmed it down to whatever this unit is. So these are my settings right there, and I just started to get some really good results. So this is just a funky piece of aluminum extrusion, but I do have some inside corner joints. It's not really a joint, but it's an inside corner that I'm practicing on. So yeah, let's show you how it's going here. Pretty solid. It's got a little bit of char on it still, but I mean, there's zero spatter. That's pretty nice. I think that's gonna work great for the project I am about to do. I'm gonna get some tube and try some like actual joinery and see how it goes. So I got these two pieces of tube. I have not cleaned them. I have not acetoned them. I'm just gonna go straight for it. Worst case scenario, dirty material, and see how it goes. So the weld looks a little cold, which makes sense. This is a cold piece, but also, you know, I wire brushed this other piece, and the oxide layer on the aluminum is harder to burn through than the inner layer. So I really should wire brush this. I'll go ahead and wire brush it now. Show you the difference. It's a little better, still pretty cold looking, and it was shooting spatter off the side. Luckily aluminum spatter doesn't stick to my steel table, but so that was no wire brushing, and that was wire brushing. A little better. I'm gonna flip it over and try this, and I'm gonna turn it up. So I took my -2 trim off. Try no wire brush right here, see how it goes. Pretty lumpy. Try it again. I mean, the part is starting to get heat soaked, so this isn't a full cold test anymore. But let me try this joint with some proper cleaning. Straight up pulse settings. You can see it started cold and then it started to warm up, and it got better. Has a very interesting like squeak or whistle when you let off the trigger. Looks pretty good. I mean, for aluminum MIG, that looks great. All right, well, I feel confident enough to proceed. So I'm gonna clean up my test area. Machine feels good. My welds are turning out pretty good. I don't know if it's because they get better as the piece heats up. I mean, aluminum always welds better when it's preheated a little bit. But you know, with this whole fixture, it's a giant gate panel. So I don't really want to have to heat up the whole thing. I mean, granted, it's cold in the shop right now too. I will definitely wire brush my joints just to give it the best chance it can get. But I think I've got the settings dialed in. It really isn't much. I mean, on the machine, you just go to Pulse MIG, tell it the wire. I'm using the 5000 series aluminum wire, 035. I'm plugged into 220 and I'm using 100% argon for the gas. And the only setting I have is -2 on the trim, because I was having an issue where it would be burning the wire up into the nozzle. Like it was too hot. And classic DC steel MIG, you see that when the voltage is higher than the wire speed. There's not enough wire to go into that heat. So basically, I think the trim just turns the heat down a little bit. So turning the heat down allows a slower wire speed to add more material into the weld. So that's sort of what I'm guessing. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to clean the table up, get all my parts laid out and fixtured up, and then I'm gonna call Jim and have him come over and take a look. Okay, so I finally made some really good progress here with MIG welding aluminum. The short answer is I was way too cold. So I turned it up to these settings, which are basically for 1/4 inch, 600 inches per minute, with a little bit of a voltage trim on the way down, but here's your amperage and voltage and wire feed. So cranked it to the moon, and about 3/4 inch of stick out, and then pushing at an angle of like 45 degrees. Started to come out really good. And there's really no oscillation like you do sometimes with steel MIG, where you do overlapping circles or anything. This is just a straight push. And yeah, this side turned out way better than the other side. Did a bit of a linear brushing, ground the corners here flat, did a little bit of a linear brushing to clean it back up. And yeah, I think it came out really good. So I'm gonna flip it back over. Probably gonna cut out some of the welds that I did before I had the settings dialed in, just because I want it to look as good as it can. And yeah, we'll weld up the other side, do some surface finishing, and then this one will be done. And then we move on to the other piece, which is over there. But yeah, actually really impressed with the HTP's ability to MIG weld aluminum. No spool gun, no push-pull. I've not had a single bird's nest in the machine where the wire gets all jammed up and crinkled together. I'm using 5000 series 035 wire, and this aluminum MIG gun that they sell on usaweld.com, and I'm running about 45 CFH of argon, pure argon. And it's working. Peter, I've been texting Peter this whole time. He's been sort of coaching me. Peter put a lot of effort into the synergic programming on the machine, meaning you change one setting and it changes everything else for you. I'd say he's right. I'd say it's pretty well dialed in. Everything feels really good. And yet again, a brand new thing that I've learned, and I feel even more confident going forward now with aluminum MIG welding. And this machine here just gets more and more valuable. So really loving it. Shout out R3 Gases for some really good quality welding gas, as always. So I'm gonna flip this thing over, get her figured out, and then yeah, be close to the end of the day. So day 2 on these aluminum gates, using our HTP MIG welder to do all this aluminum pulse MIG. I just stood it up, kind of going over it, last little touch. Pretty happy with how it came out, considering how fast I was able to weld it. I don't know what Jim's gonna do as far as paint or powder coat or anodize. I think he's gonna get it powder coated, which means it'll probably get blasted first or cleaned to some degree. I think I'm gonna go over the ends here real quick and then call this panel done. first one before I had settings dialed in, and it's pretty ugly. All the other ones feel a lot better. I got them figured out, with the exception of a few spots. This was my first side, this was my learning side. So the next one's gonna be great. But I just kind of ground that one down a little bit because it's fine, it's a game. For those that don't know, they actually make aluminum flap wheels. So these grinding wheels have like something embedded in the abrasive to keep it from gumming up. So if you didn't know that, now you know. They have actual aluminum dedicated grinding wheels, which make this kind of thing a lot easier. I built the actual gate, the swinging gate. Now we're building this, which goes like that. So this is a stationary panel and then a frame, and then the hinged gate will go right here and hinge off of this. And this whole thing is going in between two wooden posts in Jim's backyard. So that's what we're building. This one's gonna be a little bit more involved.
So if this wasn't for Jim, would these traditionally be out of mild steel?
Well, there's nothing traditional about this. All these parts are a proprietary gate system that you order from Eastern Metal Supply. So there's really no steel equivalent to this system. Jim just chooses to use aluminum because he's already ordering a bunch of aluminum from this company. And so that's just what he can get. He's already got that supply chain figured out for himself. But these channels and this like 1x6 aluminum tubing is meant to work together. So you have your top and bottom, and then your gate panels go in between. So it's meant to go real long. This is the grade of aluminum. This is all 6005 T3 aluminum, and it's extruded. It's actually really nice stuff. Really expensive if you had to buy it.
What determines different grades of aluminum?
The makeup of the alloy. I'm not a metallurgist, so I don't really know the difference, but basically the lower the number, the softer the metal, the higher the number, the harder the metal. The 3000 series aluminum is really soft, but it doesn't really weld very well. Whereas 7000 series aluminum is really hard, but isn't very ductile. You know, it's the age-old inverse relationship between ductility and hardness. I love working with Jim because all his stuff comes to me pre-cut. And he drew this plan, he labeled all the parts. I don't have to think about a whole lot. It's funny, Jim owns a company called Revolution Rowing, where he makes custom parts and equipment for the rowing world. Racing sculls and racing rowboats, like the long skinny ones you see at Yale and all those places. He builds everything in his house, in his garage, and it's all made from aluminum. So when he needs a workbench built or a gate built for his house, personal project, he'll just bring me a bunch of pre-cut aluminum and I weld it together for him. Works out.
And he's a nice dude.
And he's awesome. Jim is the jam. Big things I figured out yesterday was the 1/8" settings on here, way too cold. Aluminum is one of the best heat sinks in the world, meaning it absorbs a lot of heat. Well, when you're trying to get metal to melt in one particular place, a heat sink is not helpful. So I have this thing cranked way up. I have it cranked up to 160 amps, 600 inches per minute on wire speed, and 21.9 volts. So it is humming, but it's working. I mean, it's prettier than most aluminum MIG welds I've seen, and I'm not the best at this yet, so I'm pleased with how it's coming out. It takes a lot of power to do pulsed aluminum MIG, so that thing's working. I think I explained this already, but when you're MIG welding aluminum, it's really important to keep it clean because you don't have the benefit of the AC sine wave from a TIG welder to break through the oxide layer. So you really want to wire brush where your joints are, try to get rid of some of that oxide layer so that the welder can actually penetrate. Spend more energy making a penetrative weld instead of trying to just break through the oxide layer. I could be cleaning this way better, but I wanted to make sure I scratch everything. Another familiar problem here. So this piece sticking up warps this way because of all this heat right here. You can see the problem on this side. See, I've got it flat against the bottom here. And there's a gap there, so you can see it pulled this way. So I've had very little success heat straightening aluminum, so I think I'm just going to have to cold form it, clamp the hell out of it, bend it down and see if I can get it to walk back out. We shall see. Other than that, welding's going great. Feels good to have a really nice aluminum MIG situation. I may have to heat this a little bit just to anneal it. Free up my team with a big dream and a me man never go blue. See man up in a trap but I know how to react. Hold on, no I never so cool. Come run up in the back, get a back. You don't want this. Sexy sturdy, come and get 30. Wobble it curvy. Sexy sturdy, come and get murky. Got girl begging at mercy. Sexy sturdy, come and get 30. Wobble it curvy. I'm going to take the cutting tip off of this and put the rosebud tip back on, which allows me to heat a bigger area faster. And that's what I want. I want to heat a wide area. I don't want to just heat one spot because then the aluminum will melt and that would ruin my day. And it's all about me having a good day. was asked to build. Kudos to HTP for the 2800i. That thing welds aluminum pretty dang good. And I learned something new through this project, so that's cool. But I could sit here and polish it all day, but that's not what Jim wants. But I'm very proud of what I built, and on to the next one. Weird little project.